Namaste. Many people ask me, when did the Ramayana happen? Did it happen? Now, that's a very difficult question to answer, and I'll explain why. But if you want a very simple answer, I will say that the Ramayana story is 3000 years old, and the manuscripts were written down 2000 years ago, and the artwork emerged 1500 years ago. That's the simplest way I can explain. So, 3000 years ago is the story. 2000 years ago, you have someone writing it down in Sanskrit, and about 1500 years ago, you have the first artworks related to the Ramayana found. And all of this happens in North India. It has nothing to do with South India, nothing to is happening below the Vindhya mountains. Now, let's go one by one. Why do I say the story happened 3000 years ago? Now, I know there are many people who believe that Mahabharata took place 5,000 years ago. Therefore, Ramayana took place, thousands of years before 5,000 years. Now, these are very nice things to hear. And if you are kind of uninterested in science, then that is a perfectly fine explanation. But let's begin with some archaeological evidence. We know that 4,500 years ago, the pyramids were built, and 4,500 years ago, you have the Harappan civilization. And all the evidence of Harappan civilization is around the Sindhu River, that is Indus River, which flows from Jammu and Kashmir to what is today Pakistan. And there probably was some kind of a rain-fed river called Saraswati between Yamuna and the Indus River. And this is all happening 4,000 years ago. Now, none of these rivers have anything to do with Ayodhya, nothing to do with Videha, which is in modern day Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and Jharkhand regions. It is all happening in the regions that was today Pakistan and Haryana, Punjab. So, no, I don't believe in this 5,000 years things. I'm like, let's not waste our time with that. Let's focus on why do I say it is 3,000 years ago that the story took place. Now, in the Ramayana, you have to look at what are the people riding. They're riding chariots. We're told they're riding chariots, but chariots don't play a very important role in the story, and you don't find people riding elephants. These 2 points are very, very important. We know that the elephants were domesticated in India around 3,000 years ago. The first reference to domesticated elephants comes from the Brahmana literature, and we hear of a king of Anga giving domesticated elephants to a priest. And this is roughly 2,800 years ago, the domesticated elephant. And before that, there were horse-drawn chariots. Now, horse-drawn chariots appeared around the world 3,500 years ago. So they appeared in Greece, they appeared in India, they appeared in China, they appeared in Scandinavia, they appeared in Egypt, Mesopotamia, everything 3,500 years ago. Now, horse-drawn chariot is a very important theme in Ramayana as well as Mahabharata, and therefore all these stories definitely were composed less than 3,500 years ago. Now, I have taken between 3,500 years ago when horse-drawn chariots are entering India, and then you have the elephants being domesticated. The proof that we have is 2,800 years ago. Therefore, I'm saying that the story took place approximately 3,000 years ago. It's a speculation, it's a guesstimate. Now, another reason for that is geography. Now, it is very clear that Kishkindha is located in a land of saal trees. Kishkindha is saal trees. And Ravana's mother is called Salankataka. So Salankataka, like Amarkantak, वैसे ही Salankantak, something like that. That is the name of Ravana's mother's family, the keepers of the Saal forest. Now, Saal forests are located in central India, in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand in Odisha, and of course, northern part of India, but they're all north of the Godavari. So, Kishkindha and Lanka are all located north of the Godavari. There is also the Ashoka tree, which grows in slightly rainy regions up the mountains and the only place where you find shal trees and Ashoka trees will be around western Odisha. Now, that is a land where even today, Lankeshwari is worshipped, by the way, and there's a city called as Sonpur, the city of gold, which is still there, a little village where there is a very famous Ramayana Lanka Podi festival, which is celebrated in Odisha, where the burning of Lanka is celebrated even today. This is all happening all in north of the Godavari near Mahanadi river, Subarnarekha river. So nothing to do with Karnataka, nothing to do with Tamil Nadu, nothing to do with Sri Lanka. So it's all happening north. And then the Mahua trees are important. When you read the Ramayana, Bharadwaja Rishi keeps talking about the Mahua trees in the land of Chitrakoot. So you have Mahua tree, saal tree, and the Ashoka tree. All three trees are in this region of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Western Odisha, and that is the region where most scholars are convinced that the Ramayana, if at all took place in this region. This is where Kishkindha is, this is where Lanka is. This is obviously an early phase of the Aryans. They came around 3,500 years ago, and they were moved from the Indus River to the Ganga River. And first they were in Aryavarta, was only Ganga Yamuna region. Outside that is Kashi, outside that is Gomti River, Ghagar River, Gandak River. So Ramayana is actually taking place outside what is conventionally Aryavarta, and Videha is on the east of the Gandak River, which is where the Aryans didn't travel as per the Brahmana literature. We are told of Videha Madhava traveling and stopping at the Gandak River and not going beyond, and Videha, Janaka's kingdom, is on the other side. So that's gives us some idea what's going on, and I would put my sort of bet on roughly 3,000 years ago. Archaeologists have found in this region painted graveware pottery appearing around 800 BC. That is the time when the elephants were being domesticated in Hastinapur region, and that is, they call it the Vedic period. So this is a story which is roughly 3,000 years old, and whether it was an event the way of course, many people believe it's a historical event. They don't want to believe Ram is a god. Now, for Hindus, Ram is God. The moment you say Ram is a historical figure, you're saying Ram is not a god. So you have to decide whether you want Ram to be a god or you want Ram to be a historical figure. If it's a historical figure, then he's not a god. He's not some hero. But for most Hindus, including Valmiki Ramayana, it is very clear he's Vishnu on earth. He is an avatar of Vishnu on earth, a part of Vishnu on earth. And that is the essence of Hindu mythology. So I don't see Ram as a heroic figure or a historical figure. For me, Ram is God. And the idea of Ram as God emerges between 3,000 and 2,000 years ago. It consolidates itself around 2,000 years ago and becomes big 1,500 years ago. Because 1,500 years ago, the Gupta period, you find the early images of Vishnu sleeping on Anantashayan in Devgad, Jhansi, or in Udaygiri, which is north of the Narmada river. So around 1,500 years ago, you find images of Vishnu sleeping on Anantashayan. You find Vishnu riding Garuda. You find Vishnu as Varaha. These statues emerged only 1,500 years ago. And in those temples, you find the earliest images of Ramayana. You find the earliest image of Sita, Ravana, Ram holding a bow, cutting Surpanakha's nose, helping Ahalya. All these images are found for the first time roughly 1,500 years ago. So if the story was written, the story talks of a period 3,000 years ago, but the story was visualized for the first time 1,500 years ago. All the visualization is happening in North India. It is happening near the Chambal River, near the Betwa River, which are the tributaries of the Yamuna River. So this is very important. Nothing's happening in South India. Nothing. Right? It's very, very important to remember that. South Indian Ramayana really becomes important 1,000 years ago during the Chola times. Ram Setu is mentioned for the first time 1,000 years ago. The Alvars start worshipping Ram as a form of Vishnu on earth 1,000 years ago. Now let's come to the manuscript, the manuscripts that we have. The manuscripts that we have, the critical edition, and there are many, many manuscripts of the Valmiki Ramayana. There's no single book. There are many, many manuscripts. These were collected in the 19th century, and in Baroda, you have many of these manuscripts, and they came up with a critical edition. And they realized that when you read the critical edition, it shows that this manuscript was written 2,000 years ago. Now, why can I say it with so much certainty? First of all, writing came to India 2,300 years ago. How do I know this? Because Ashokan pillars have the Brahmi script. So writing becomes popular 2,300 years ago. Then you realize that the language in the Valmiki Ramayana uses what is called as an Anustup meter. It's a different form of meter which is not found in the Vedas. Vedas is Tristup meter. So it's after the Vedic period. Vedic period ends around 500 BC. So it's after that. So you know that this Manuscript was written again roughly 2000 years ago. There are other reasons for it. Another reason you have is um, Valmiki Ramayana talks about horse trade because Dashrath's wife, Kaikai, comes from the land of Kekeya. He's related to Ashwapati, the lord of horses, and Dasharatha, chariots. So it's chariots. It's a very, very old period, and it is being written 2000 years ago to counter Buddhism. Now, this is a very important part to remember. Buddhism emerged 2,500 years ago, and in Buddhism, if you remember, they talk about the Ashoka tree which Buddha's mother holds at the time of his birth. You hear of saal trees under which he dies. So saal tree and Ashoka tree are closely related with Buddhism. And in Ramayana, the saal tree and the Ashoka tree are linked with the land of monkeys and the land of Rakshasas, Vanar or Rakshas, Kishkindha and Lanka. So you see this as a counter. Buddhist land is the land of the monkeys, Buddhist land is the land of the Rakshasas. So there is clearly a counter movement. So that will happen only less than 2,500 years ago. Now, again, why do I say 2000? Again, why am I so particular about 2000? Again, this is a ballpark. You can say 1800, 1900. Now, the manuscript mentions the Shaka kings and the Yavanas. Yavanas are the Indo-Greeks. Shakas are Scythians. They controlled many of the North Indian trade routes around 2000 years ago. So that is why the coins, they have printed these coins, and we know this is 2000 years ago. Both of them are mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana also mentions Sita wearing Chinnapatta. Chinnapatta is Chinese silk. Chinese silk enters India 2000 years ago, not before that. In fact, we were first exposed to China around that time. In fact, China gets its name only 2300 years ago, at the same time when Ashoka was raising his Brahmi script edicts. So China as a country and the name China appears around the time of Ashoka. And Channapatta, the trade routes are established and they come to India around 2000 years ago. So that's why 2000 years ago is very important for me. The idea of this ring, Ram's ring, which has Ram's name, these rings, recently they found a ring in Thailand, which is 2000 years old. It has the Prakrit script on it, Brahmi script on it, Prakrit language on it. These rings are also found in Takshila and they belong to the Indo-Greeks 2000 years ago. Then the Valmiki Ramayana, they describe the Pushpak Viman having the symbol of Gajalakshmi, where is the first time the Gajalakshmi images are found. They are found in Sanchi Stupa, they are found in Bharhut, dated 2000 years ago. So there is the Ihamriga, which they're talking about. Ihamriga are these animals which are partly fish, partly horse or elephant. Where are they found for the first time? 2000 years ago in Sachi Stupa. Then when Hanuman is flying into Lanka, he finds a stadium. And he finds a stadium with pillars. Again, they are found for the first time where? In Nagarjun Konda near the Ikshvaku rule, which is only about 1800, 1700 years ago. Most importantly, Hanuman makes a dialogue in which he says, when he's approaching Sita, he says, which language should I speak? Should I speak the language of, should I speak Sanskrit, the language of the Dvijas? The word Dvija is used. Now, Dvija word is first occurs only in Dharma Shastra literature. Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras are also 2000 years old. So the presence of the word Dvija in the Ramayana, the presence of Shakas, the presence of Yavanas, the presence of these rings with script on it, all this suggests Ramayana was written down 2000 years ago. The artworks appear 1500 years ago. They are describing a story which occurred before Buddhism. Because in Buddhism, Buddha rides a horse, he's associated with Ashoka and saal trees. And they're saying before that, so 3000 years ago, there was a story of the Ramayana. And the original Ramayana story perhaps was not the way we understand it. There are fragments of stories. You get a clue to it in Buddhist Jatakas. In one Jataka, there is a story of a prince who goes to the forest because his father has told him to, and he returns after 12 years. There is no Ravana. There is no abduction of Sita. That's one story. There's another story where there is a faithful wife who goes with the husband to the forest, abducted by a Gandharva or a Yaksha, but then proves that she is faithful, and the husband gets cured because of her faithfulness. So there are two different stories, one of abduction, one of exile in the Buddhist canon, in the Jataka stories. And so you wonder whether there are these many stories which became one story, and you can keep arguing about it. You'll never know for sure 100%. Nowadays, of course, you can get a troll army to decide what truth is. But if you're interested in data, this is the best I can give you. It's a story which was fragments of the story belong to 3000 years ago. Before Buddhism, when chariots were being ridden and elephants had not been completely domesticated, the writing took place 2000 years ago in the post Buddhist period, and the artwork emerges 1500 years ago when Hinduism reached its classical form under the Guptas. And it all happened in North India. South Indian proof comes 1000 years ago. That is when the Cholas talk about Rama Setu.